Welcome back to Mary Golick's Finding Myself After Domestic Violence. We are on episode 3, which is about religion and spiritual identity. If you haven't figured out by now, each episode is about a different aspect of self-identity exploration, because I found that after leaving domestic abuse and getting divorced, it really shattered my whole sense of security and identity. So rather than tell the story chronologically, which would be infuriatingly impossible, I'm telling it in terms of different aspects of self-exploration that took place throughout that process afterwards. Like the last one, this is a very sensitive, vulnerable topic. All of these videos should probably come with some trigger warnings about abuse and different things like that. I think I'll pretty much just say abuse. That covers everything. And trauma and like PTSD, mental health. The filming this video is interesting because after I put the first video online and after I had filmed the second one, but before I posted it, I got my first subscriber to my page. By the way, like and subscribe, please, if you're following this saga at all. I got my first subscriber, except my first subscriber was my ex-husband. So that was weird and uncomfortable. Cyberstalking is a thing that abusers do. That's well documented. I guess I'm going to speak to this a little bit. This wasn't part of the script, but this came up. I still find myself sort of thinking he probably wouldn't do that, though. Even though I know all these things that are like normal things that they do, I was like, I don't think he'll do that, though. It seems like we're getting along. It seems like maybe he's moving on. And then I get a notification, and it was clearly him. It was his username and like a photo of him holding one of our children. It says they subscribed to your page. And I was like, I wonder if he knew that I would see that notification. So then I went to my subscriber list and it didn't show him as a subscriber. So either he tried to go like incognito mode, or he just unsubscribed. He thought better of it, or he thought that I would see it or something, but he probably did not realize that I would still get the notification. So that put me in an awkward situation of deciding how to proceed moving forward. And I decided to still make the videos, but I wanted to share that that is happening. Okay, so got that out of the way. Please like and subscribe if you're interested in this content and if you're following it. I still have 7 more after this. Like I've said before, they're all kind of scripted out, and each segment is a different topic of personal self-identity. Okay, the religion piece. This is a very, very big, very sensitive, close to the heart aspect of the human person, or spiritual identity. I grew up Catholic, and that was a very important piece of my identity. I was very pious, very religiously involved, very knowledgeable, and going to Sunday Mass together, my family, all 6 of us, was part of our weekly ritual. And it's just sort of funny how the timing lined up. I think it's more than coincidence. I ended up developing like clinical PTSD from an experience I had with a Catholic priest. And that started right around the time I was dating and getting engaged to my ex-husband. And throughout the years, it sort of progressed. I kept trying to go to Mass, but I was like, my fingers and toes were going numb while I was in church and stuff like that. And so basically, I was like fighting with this experience of PTSD. And eventually, it culminated after we had separated, but before we were divorced, when I saw the same priest at a bar and had a legit full PTSD attack, and I was hospitalized and placed in a psych ward for several nights. That was not fun. That was really scary. And yeah, so something I can relate to and would not wish for anybody to have that experience of like psychological pain and feeling out of control. Yeah. I think it is more than coincidence, though, how the timing lined up with my relationship with my ex. And it was just like, it was like my relationship with him somehow held or symbolized all my other self-identity aspects, and like everything was tied into that. And it was like, once I decided to leave him, by necessity, everything else just unspiraled, unwound itself. And so I'm dealing with not only an ended relationship, but like all of these other identity crises on top of it. So I want to talk about how for a while I was choosing to honor my body by not attending Mass. So after all of this happened, it really came to a head where I was like, okay, if I'm going to love myself, I need to stop putting myself in situations where my body is physically responding in a PTSD traumatic type of way. Like, I don't feel like it's loving to myself to force myself to go to Mass and have this type of trauma reaction. So my religious exploration started with just taking a break from going to Mass and still considering myself Catholic. We're going to have to deal with the cat being all up in this. Her name is Nienna, which means goddess of mourning, from the Silmarillion. So it was sort of by necessity. Like, I felt like I was forced into this break that I didn't want and that I felt kind of bitter about and resentful and like hurt by. But I was doing it to take care of myself, and I was still feeling a sense of like longing for something. I wanted that religious space to be filled. So a lot of people suggested to me to try a Protestant church, but that did not really feel like it would meet the mark. I wanted the tradition and the history of Catholicism, and Catholicism comes before Protestantism, so it felt like a richer, deeper history to me. So I thought, well, maybe I'll try an Eastern Orthodox church, and that will be enough enough of a difference, but still maintaining that same rich tradition. So I attended an Eastern Orthodox church, and there was nothing really wrong with it, but I didn't feel particularly called either. So that kind of just fell by the wayside. And during this time, I started falling more into just a natural sense of ritual and tradition and clinging to sacred objects. I would start to feel comfort from special rocks and lighting candles and just making my own rituals. And little by little, I started to realize that I was what people would call a witch. And that was kind of a big whack over the head. That was a lot to process with my Catholic upbringing. I had a lot of ideas in my mind about what that meant and trying to reconcile that. And I'm not going to turn this into a big thing about what witchcraft is and isn't, but ultimately that's what I came to terms with. And I started looking back over all these other experiences in my life of feeling like Catholicism really didn't allow for spirituality. Like if you got too mystical or too prayerful, if you really felt a sense of connection to God and other spirits, it felt like that was kind of outside the scope of Catholicism. And I started to think, okay, I can't really have a religion that is not spiritual. So I also considered some just conversations I've had with people, and one conversation with a Catholic priest in particular, where he told me that the dreams I had were just meaningless and random. And I don't remember if it was him or other people too that have said stuff like dreams come from the devil, that stuff is not from God. And it made me think, because the first time I had a profoundly symbolic dream, like overtly symbolic, I was probably 4 or 5, and I wasn't seeking any demonic influences at the age of 4 or 5. I wasn't seeking anything. So for somebody to tell me that at that young age I was being influenced or receiving information from demonic spirits really didn't sit well with me, because that kind of gives the message that I'm demonic. Like, I was just a kid. So part of this journey is that I started to believe that I was innately good, not demonic, and that my desires and inspirations and spiritual gifts were also innately good and came from God. So I started honoring that more and following my gifts, my desires, and seeing where those led rather than being afraid of them. And yeah, all of that kind of led to witchcraft. I still consider myself, what I tell people is like culturally Catholic, because I don't attend Mass, but I'm so influenced by the culture and the belief system of how I was raised, and I still honor a lot of that. At the same time all of this was going on, there was another piece with my ex-husband that I want to talk about, and Um, the relationship with my ex and with my religion kind of mirror each other, because with both relationships, there was a sense of, can I ever reconcile? Like, I think it's natural to ask yourself that question when you end a relationship. Like, can I ever come back to this? Or what would it take to come back to this? And I had a running list of things with my ex that could potentially help rectify the relationship. And over the course of the marriage, none of those things ever came to pass. And so eventually it came to a place of, instead of asking what would it take to rectify this relationship, to me keeping a running list, reminding myself of reasons that I can never go back. Like, Mary, remember that X, Y, and Z happened. These are the reasons you can never go back. Don't forget this. Don't go back to that relationship. And one of those things was the way he responded when I asked for the separation. He did not say something like, what can I do to help rectify this? How can we heal this relationship? He did not go there at all. He went straight to, I'm going to take the kids from you, and you can never leave me. Which are threats. Also, using somebody's kids against them is as evil as it gets. Due to the living situation we had going on and the work situation, I was working full-time out of the home. He was not. It was not an option for me to just keep the kids with me because I had to go to work and he stayed with the kids. So his threats weren't empty. He was able to follow through, and I was seeing my kids on his schedule. I was waiting for our court date, which was scheduled a year out about. And so until then, there was really nothing I could do about it. After the court date, the decision was not finalized for 2 months. During that time, there was no legal decision about who had the kids. And during that time, he decided he would keep them 24/7. That was really stressful. I went to his house, his mom's house. He was living with his mom. Every single day to see my kids, despite the fact that it probably was not the best call for my mental health, and I was on the verge of a panic attack every time I went over there. That also really mirrors my relationship with the church. Trying to maintain a relationship and a presence, even though it was about to cause me a panic attack. And I just entrusted my babies to God and sent them love in my heart when we weren't together. The thing that got me through that period and gave me the strength to keep moving forward with the separation, knowing that my relationship with my kids was on the line, was the knowledge that eventually we would be able to heal from this. A person can heal from pretty much anything, but they have to be out of the situation first. And I knew that the only way for us to move forward and have a chance at healing and having healthy relationships was to be out of the relationship with my ex. I knew that I had to get out of it and then let the pieces fall where they did. Now we're in the rebuilding phase. Now, and it's still rough, let me tell you, man. divorce brings a lot of challenges for kids. It was not all sunshine and rainbows. But I feel like we have a chance to rebuild now. I feel like it's possible. No matter how long it takes, I'm committed to it, and I trust God that He's going to be with me in that process also. So with all that on the line, I found myself at one point really relating to Job in the Bible. And I said to God, take my life, and please don't hate me that I feel that way. He said, have mercy on me like you had mercy on Job. And like Job, make my latter days better than my first. And on a sunny afternoon, as I was saying that prayer, laying in the grass, I decided to read the entire book of Job. And I can continue saying that prayer, God, please make the latter days of Mary better than the first. And sorry, kind of came to a abrupt halt. But like I said, that trust in God and that desire for my future to be brighter than my past, it led me to a trust in myself, in my own intuition, into a belief that I could take care of myself. And this wasn't initially on my script, but working through healing after the divorce, what I found one of the biggest healing points was, like, the main thing that needs to heal is I had to forgive myself. I'm not victim blaming. Like, he did what he did, that was his choice. But at the end of the day, I'm responsible to take care of myself, right? I put myself in that situation. We manifest what we want. I chose to be in that relationship. So I chose to forgive myself, and I still choose to forgive myself. And that is still unfolding more and more. You don't realize how many layers there are until you take a step back and you can see the whole picture. Like I said before, I didn't realize at the time how much I was drinking and, this, that, and the other thing. And now, years later, there's more to forgive, more self-compassion to be given. And there's more and more work to do, and the layers just keep unfolding. So I wanted to share that, and thank you for listening. And my faith and spiritual journey have been a big part of that, and finding my identity. If you want to reach out, leave a comment, I'd love that.